Welcome in to Your Moving Parts, and we have back with us Dr. Michele Olsen, and Michele is at AUM here, and she is wonderful. And we were talking earlier, for all, particularly all us ladies. What did you call it? The menopot?
Menopot. Pot belly.
Right. And everything sort of shifts where
I
you
got
get
my own man pot here.
Well,
I got my man pot.
You got the man pot.
Man pot.
But we all wanted to know, what can we do about this shift to the diaphragm and the tummy that happens as we get a little bit older?
That again is a very good question, because one thing that is happening is that we are storing more fat than up in the central body area. And we know with things like heart disease that it's called central adiposity, but it means more accumulation of fat in the central area of the body. We know the more of that one has, the greater their risk for heart disease. So it's a real phenomenon, and then there are real health considerations that we need to pay attention to. So, and it's kind of like a mysterious thing. How does this happen? Is it happening? Is it in my mind? I get these questions. And it is a real phenomenon. And what happens is when women reach menopause and they no longer ovulate, the changes in the levels of estrogen, the female hormone, wane, and therefore the natural levels of testosterone. Men and women both have estrogen and testosterone. We both do. It's just to relatively different degrees. So a woman hormonally, to really simplify it, becomes more like a man after menopause. We already know that men, when they're not active as they're aging, tend to gain more weight here, right? Sometimes we call that the beer gut, right? I mean, just to translate, common phrases we have for it. And women start to get that kind of beer gut. And why? We don't need to store...
You get the martini gut.
We don't need to store fat in the lower pelvic region as an extra energy source to support us during pregnancy. That's why women store extra fat in their gluteal area and their femoral area when they're younger. It's extra storage of calories so that during a pregnancy, if you were not receiving the nutrition you should receive, your body can bring those calories in to the fetus. So when we no longer can carry children and are not ovulating, then the fat storage pattern shifts more to a male pattern of fat, which also helps to explain why men tend to have, if they're going to have a heart attack, on average will experience one about 10 years earlier than a woman. Once women become more hormonally like a man, they experience the same severity of heart disease. And so women always need to be concerned about their heart health as well. What do we do about this menopause? What do we do, because we know central body fat is more of a health risk? What is the name of our segment?
Your moving parts.
We have to move, we have to move, we have to move, we have to move. And we also, if we can undulate the intensity of our exercise, that is very helpful. These research studies that have been done on what we call interval exercise measure a lot of times changes in body fat, and they'll look at it regionally. And the research is showing that participants who engage in more of an interval style format will have greater losses of abdominal fat than a matched group doing what we call steady exercise. So, oh gosh, this sounds all complicated and all this, right? Well, no, we're not in an all or nothing paradigm. We're in how do we do it? Okay. So a lot of us walk. Okay. So let's say you typically walk about maybe a 15 to 17 minute mile. Okay. So perhaps for every 1 minute of walking, for 30 seconds, you walk faster. Then for a minute, you go back down to your typical pace. 30 seconds, walk faster. 1 minute, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 30 seconds in a repeating pattern. Treadmills, which a lot of us do have access to,
Right.
we need to be indoors, are a wonderful way to do this because you can use the incline.
Oh, that's right.
So you just walk along at your 3.5 mile per hour pace, and then you hit the incline button, bring it up to 5%, 6%, 7%, and walk that hill for 30 seconds, and then flat. So we just take what we're doing already, and we do it in an interval fashion.
So if I'm on the elliptical, if I'm going along at about 4 miles an hour, then all of a sudden I should take 30 seconds and maybe hit it at 5.
Burst it up
Yeah,
there.
burst it.
5, 6.
And then come back. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're going to spin, just you know, do what you normally do, but interject these intervals. What happens is that your heart's going to have to beat faster, correct? You know, when you start going faster.
Right.
So adrenaline has to stimulate your heart. Well, adrenaline also knocks on the door of your fat cells and says, fat, please release out into the bloodstream. So, you know, the question for me is like, I understand I need to do this, but why? People want to know why. What
That's
happens
right,
to your
right.
body? Well, heart's got to beat faster. Adrenaline causes that. Adrenaline also goes to your fat cells and says, let's empty some fat. So the higher
Maybe
you
use
can
you.
raise your adrenaline levels, the more you will draw the calories you need for your exercise from the fat cells in the middle of your body. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Well, let's all get ready and let's get some adrenaline going and get
Exactly.
rid of some of the menopause.
it.
Thanks for being with us, and we'll be back again.